Chapter 21. When Sir Scope of the Fields was sitting in attendance on Marquis Wen of Wei, he often spoke of a certain Mr. Valleywork. The Marquis asked, "This Valleywork, is he your teacher?" Sir Scope asked, "No, he's just a fellow from where around I, choiceless, am living. I speak of him only because when he speaks of the course he is often on target." "So you have no teacher?" Sir Scope said, "Oh no, I do have a teacher." "Who would that be?" "Master Non-Resist of the Eastern Wall." "In that case, why is that you have never mentioned him?" "He is the kind of person who is genuine, with the appearance of a human being but the empty openness of the sky of heaven. He follows along these things yet preserves the genuine in himself because he is so limpid he manages to receive and contain all things. When beings are off course, he puts his own demeanor into alignment, allowing them to realize it on their own, causing human tensions to melt away. How could I, choiceless, be worthy even to mention such a person?" After Sir Scope departed, Marquis Wen spent the whole day in a speechless daze. He then called his standing ministers before him and said, "How far beyond the ordinary is the noble person whose intrinsic virtuosities are whole and intact? At first I thought the words of the sagely wisdom all about the practice of human kindness and responsible conduct were the utmost. But now that I have heard about Sir Scope's teacher, my body unravels and does not want to move. My mouth clamps up and does not want to talk. All my previous learning now seems to me to nothing more than dolls of clay. The state of Wei, genuinely just something that ties me down." Sir Snow the Warm Unk was staying in Lu in the course of his journey toward Qi, when a certain man of Lu requested a meeting with him. Sir Snow said, "Can't do it. I have heard that the noble men of these middle states know a lot about ritual duties, but have a narrow understanding of the hearts and minds of human beings. I don't want to meet with him." On the way back from Qi, he again stayed in Lu for a time, and the same man again requested a meeting with him. Sir Snow said, "He wanted to meet with me before, and now he wants to meet with me again. This guy is definitely bringing something to save me with, that is, to irritate me." But in the end, he went out and met with the guest, and later came back home sighing. The following day, he met with him again, and afterward came back home sighing. His servant said, "Every time you meet with me, this guest comes home back sighing. I told you." "Why? I told you before," he said. "The people of these middle states know a lot about ritual duties, but have a narrow understanding of the hearts and minds of human beings. When he was meeting with me just now, he would move forward and backward in patterns that form perfect circles and squares. When he was trying to be relaxed, he was either like a dragon or like a tiger. He remonstrated with me as if he were my son, offered guidance as if he was my father. That's why I sighed." Confucius, having met with him, said nothing about it. Zai Lu asked him, "My master, you have long desired to meet with Sir Snow the Warm Unk. Now that you have had the chance to meet with him, you say nothing. Why?" Confucius, having met with him, Confucius said, "A man such as this makes the course present to you as soon as you lay eyes on him. There is no place for anything one could say." Okay, I'm going to skip some parts. Boli Shi was a man who never let rank or salary enter his heart, and that is why the cattle he fed always grew fat. This is what caused Duke Mu of Qin to forget the lowliness of his position and hand over the government to him. Neither life nor death entered the heart of the clansman Yo, and that is why others were so moved by him. When Lord Yuan of Song wanted to have some illustrations drafted, many masters of the brush came to his court. After receiving their instruction and making their formal bows, they all remained standing there in attendance at court, licking their brushes and mixing their ink, with half again as many waiting at the gate. But there was one who arrived late and was loitering around unhurriedly out there without pressing forward to present himself. When he did receive his instructions and had given his bow, he didn't remain standing there in attendance at all, but instead took off immediately for his quarters. When the Duke sent someone to check on him there, it was discovered that the man had taken off all his clothes and was dancing around the room, failing everywhere with his nakedness. The ruler said, "Well, okay, now that's a true painter." When King Wen was out observing this on page 170. When King Wen was out observing the sights at Zhang, did I already do this? No. Yeah. When King Wen was observing the sights at Zhang, he happened to see an old man fishing without ever treating his fish as fishing. Since it is only by fishing without grasping one's fishing that one can fish with real constancy, King Wen wished to raise this man up to office to put him in charge of the state, because he feared this would cause unrest among the great ministers. And his own father and elder brothers, he tried to put this wish out of his mind and forget about it. Okay, hold on, give me a second. I'm gonna read these pages and then some of 22. Okay. Sorry. Yet at the same time he could not bear the way the people of the empire had to live out their days without a heaven over them, a true protector. So the next morning he called in his great officers and announced to them, "Last night I had a dream in which I saw a good man with dark hair and a beard, riding a dappled horse with red hooves on one side. The man commanded me, saying, 'Hand your government over to the old man of Zhang, and then perhaps there will be some hope for the people's recovery.'" The ministers were jolted by these words. "It must have been your late father," King Wen said. "Well, let us do some divination about it and see." The minister said, "It is the command of your father and can be nothing besides. What need is there to do a divination about it?" So then he went to receive the old man of Zhang and put him in charge of the state. The old man changed no laws and issued no edicts, but when after 3 years King Wen went on tour to inspect the state of the nation, he found that the rank-and-file officers had destroyed their illicit holdings and disbanded their cliques, that the high-ranking officers didn't bother to develop any special virtuosities of their own, and that no one dared bring alien grain measures within the four borders of the state. In that the rank-and-file officer destroyed... In that the rank-and-file officers destroyed their illicit holdings and disbanded their cliques, there was a real esteeming of the shared. In that the high-ranking officers didn't bother to develop any special virtuosities of their own, all shared in the same work. In that no one dared bring alien grain measures into the country, the feudal lords were free of ulterior intentions. King Wen, for this reason, decided to declare the great old man great teacher of the nation, respectfully facing north toward him, begged, "May I extend your government to all the empire?" But the old man of Zhang went blank and made no reply, and then evasively excused himself. The following morning the order was issued again, but by that evening the old man had vanished and no one ever heard from him again. Yan Hui asked Confucius about this incident, saying, "Was King Wen so imperfect, Why did he need to make up that story about the dream? Confucius said, "Hush, say no more, you." King Wen was fully realized on all fronts. What room is there for your assessments and criticisms? He was merely according with the needs of that particular moment. Li Yuku was demonstrating his archery to Uncle Dim Nobody. He pulled the bow until it bent back all the way, meanwhile balancing a cup of water on his elbow. As soon as he let one arrow fly, the next was already in place and ready to go, all at once had jumped off the string, and so for the next over and over. But during the whole time, he was still as a statue. Uncle Dim Nobody said, "This is the shooting that shoots, not the shooting that shoots not. Let's try climbing to the top of a mountain, standing you on a tottering rock cliff over a plunging abyss that 100 fathoms, and see if you're able to shoot so well." Thereupon Nobody led him to a high mountain. Thereupon Nobody is a person. Treading on a tottering rock cliff over an abyss of 100 fathoms. Then took several steps backward until both feet were hanging 2/3 over the edge. He then gestured for Yuko to approach, but the latter had fallen to the ground, dripping sweat down to his heels. Uncle Dim Nobody said, "The imponderable spirit and energy of utmost person remains unchanged whether he is peering at the azure sky, diving down the yellow springs, or flying past the edges of 8 extremities of the universe. But here you are, petrified by your own eye-popping ambition. The real danger is inside of you, eh?" Shoulder Self asked Sun Shu Ao, 3 times you were made commanding officer, yet you did not glory in it. 3 times you were dismissed from your post, but showed no expression of sorrow. At first I had my doubts about you, sir, but now I observe how calmly the breath passes through your nostrils. What special way do you have of applying your mind?" Shun Shu Ao asked, "How can I have anything that exceeds what anyone else has? I just see whatever comes as possible to refuse and whatever goes as impossible to retain. I merely look at those gains and losses as having nothing to do with me, which I suppose was why I looked unworried. How could I have anything that exceeds what anyone else has, I ask? Does what matters reside in those external things or myself? If in those things, it has nothing to do with me. If in myself, it has nothing to do with those things. So now all I do is dawdle at my ease, gazing about me in all directions. What leisure do I have to worry about whether people honor or despise me?" When Confucius heard about this, he said, "Genuine persons of old could not be convinced by the wise, nor tempted by the beautiful, nor plundered by bandits, and even Fu Shi and the Yellow Emperor could not befriend them. Death and life are a great matter, but they effected no change in such people as these. How much less rank and salary? Being such, their imponderable spirits passed through Mount Tai without getting stuck, and entered into the abysmal springs without getting wet. Were positioned in the lowest and tightest places without getting distressed. For they filled all of heaven and earth. The more they gave away to others, the more they themselves possessed." The king of Chu and the ruler of Fan were sitting together. Over a short period of time, there were 3 attendants of the Chu who declared, "The state of Fan is finished." The ruler of Fan said, "That is not enough to destroy my existence, to destroy what I am preserving. Since the destruction of Fan is not enough to destroy what I'm preserving, the preservation of Chu is not enough to preserve what you're preserving. From this point of view, the destruction of Fan and the preservation of Chu are equally non-events." That's chapter 21.